Hey guys, it's Levias Ross. It's been a while since I did an episode of Real Talk, about 4 months to be exact, but I felt like this would be a good opportunity to just kind of catch up on some of the movies that I've seen since then. And it'll be good because if there's a movie that I just really don't have a lot to say about, I can just kind of move on and talk about the next one. Now, this won't be all of the movies I've seen in those 4 months, it'll just be a collection of a few of them that I feel like talking about. But let's go ahead and start talking about the movies that I've seen since then, starting with the oldest one, which is The Brutalist. Now, this is a movie that I was really looking forward to because it felt like it had like a lot of Oscar heat, a lot of momentum with it, and it seemed like something that was kind of unexpected but really doing well. It's from A24, so it definitely was up my alley. But watching it, it was something that I felt like the craft, the quality of the film was like undeniably good. That was like this was made into like the hands of a very competent director, very well crafted. The story itself, I didn't feel like super invested in. It was decent. It wasn't anything that was like terrible, but it just kind of felt like something that was like fine in contrast to the quality of the film that was really good. Now, I will say it is a very long movie, which I don't mind. Like, if a director feels that it should be that long, go for it. I'm not going to tell you to make it to wrap it up. The movie actually has an intermission in the middle of it that's about 15 minutes. And the thing is, though, like, I won't be going to any spoilers of these movies to preface, but I was watching the movie, and as I was watching, I was kind of like, oh, should I have maybe like looked up the character that the movie is based on, or the person, the historical figure? And I hadn't, and I was watching the movie, and it kind of felt like maybe I should have because I felt a little lost. But during the intermission, I was like, oh, I could look it up and see, like, kind of summarize their Wikipedia page and kind of get an idea of what the movie's covering. But I decided against it and just decided to watch the rest of the movie. And I was kind of confused a little bit. And then after the movie ended, I looked it up. It's not based on a true person. It's just the entire story's made up, which was kind of confusing because I was like, oh, so that was like a choice that you went with. But as the movie, like throughout the movie, he's kind of like he's designing furniture. I was like, oh, that looks kind of familiar, and so I was like, oh, I think it's this artist that I've seen like this type of furniture before, and about like the architecture. And I was like, I don't really recognize it, but I feel like the style I've seen before. I didn't know it was like that influential. Turns out it's not a specific person. So I felt just kind of like confused by that. That it would have just clarified things if I knew going into that's like this is a made up story. This was not an actual person. But overall, like it's a good movie. It's like I said, undeniably high quality. It didn't really like resonate with me or like really connect, but I thought it was pretty good. And I feel like it sounds like it's kind of bad overall, but I feel like it was just like a little disappointing or like didn't live up to my very high expectations of it. But definitely a pretty good movie. If you're not really into like Oscar winning films and stuff like that, this is probably one that's not going to win you over. But if you're up for that and you're like in the mood for this kind of like more artsy, serious film, I think this is a pretty solid one. Now, next, I'll be talking about Companion, which is a much more laid back. I wouldn't say lighthearted. It is like, it's definitely a horror comedy, and there's a lot of funny moments, but it's definitely not something that's like, there is also some horror in it and stuff. But overall, I felt like this is a movie that it's not something that really like changed my perspective on things and like I left the theater going like, oh, I'm a new person, like my view of the world has shifted. But it was a very enjoyable movie. I think it really nailed, like delivered on what it was trying to be. It's a horror comedy. It has interesting concepts. The story is definitely not something that's just like in the background and just a segue to get between horror or action scenes. It's pretty solid and it's interesting. There's a few interesting ideas and of like unexpected twists throughout the movie that makes it entertaining to watch. And it's also one that's like I think it's if you're not really into like the serious gritty horror movies, I think this is a nice balance. It's a bit there's definitely it scratches that itch of a horror movie and it's pretty violent at times, but also has the comedy to balance it out and it's not like it doesn't feel like you're getting whiplash going from one to the other and doesn't feel like one is a lot higher quality than the other one. I feel like they're both pretty solid and it makes it an enjoyable movie experience that like I said, I don't feel like I had like a philosophical mindset shift after seeing it, but I did enjoy the time watching it and I felt like it was very solid. Like I think this is one that I could pretty consistently recommend to people if it seems like a type of movie that they would be up for. It doesn't like break the like go beyond the genre and get people that aren't normally into horror or comedy movies to enjoy it. But I feel like it's really solid for what it is. Now, the movie I'll talk about next is not quite that level, and it's Heart Eyes, which is another horror comedy movie. This one, it was I did not like it. Like, it's a horror comedy. It's very odd because it's like a horror, like romantic comedy, but it feels more like it's trying to parody these like very cheap romance movies, but it's not really doing a good job of like doing anything beyond that. It just kind of feels like it's emulating it, but not really nailing or making it so clever that's like enjoyable. It just kind of feels like you're watching a very like mediocre horror movie, and then you're watching this like kind of cringy millennial satire romance movie. Like there's scenes that they're at a coffee shop and she's like, "Oh, I bring like my metal straw everywhere and that's what I use instead of using like plastic straws and stuff like that." And there's just a lot of like references or like small jokes like that. They kind of like feel like digs at like aren't these people like kind of pretentious? And it doesn't really land. It just kind of feels like yeah, I get it. Like it's a little bit repetitive and doesn't really evolve beyond that. And the horror itself also, it felt a bit disappointing. There's one thing I'll say in this is something from the trailer and from the movie poster. In the trailer, there's a very like distinct shot where the heart eyes they like glow red, and I thought that's what they looked like the whole movie. They usually don't. They just look like basically like a gas mask with heart eyes, and there's no like anything added on top of that. It just kind of looks like a gas mask with someone that's like a romantic gas mask designer, I guess. And the glowing eyes that made it like kind of like made it like really piqued my interest is just not present throughout the movie the rest of the time. And so the horror itself it just feels very like I said, mediocre, and then the comedy writing was a bit cringy, and I think it's like a bit tongue in cheek, but it doesn't work. And so Hard Eyes pretty disappointing. If you want to see like a romantic horror movie, I think Companion, even though it's not like it's tough because I feel like if you're going to take a date to see one of them, Hard Eyes is like not good, but it kind of ends on like an easier note to be like, oh yeah, let's like go get dinner now. Companion, it's a bit more challenging or it's a bit more unusual, and but I think Companion's a lot more higher quality, enjoyable movie than Hard Eyes is. But moving on, the next movie I saw, which actually came out last year, but was like just kind of getting a single showing in theaters for a little bit for some reason, which I'm glad it did, is Flow, which was like an amazing movie. Like I I feel like I like the idea of animation, but usually when I'm watching an animated movie, I'm kind of like, oh, like I this isn't really as good as I thought it was going to be. Flow is something that I was like, okay, I kind of feel like it's really raised the bar for anime movies in my eyes. Because it's like, it's also like it's sad at times, but it's not like extreme. Like it's PG or like maybe G. There's like really like no blood or anything like that. It's just like a very well done journey that the whole movie, it's all animals, there's no dialogue, and it's just a flood and a cat like trying to continue like getting by throughout the flood. And it sounds like a very basic premise, but it's done so well. And the animation, like the attention to detail is just so good that the whole time I was like, this is amazing. Like, there's the story of like that's pretty basic of just the cat like trying to get by. It's like, oh, there's water, and he's like go higher up and stuff like that. And that it's fine. Like it kept me engaged throughout it. But every once in a while, I'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, we gotta get on the boat, and then like, oh, this other animal got on the boat. It's like, okay, cool, okay, and they'll be like, oh yeah, and here's like the most beautiful shot you've seen in an animated movie, and then yeah, and then oh, this other animal showed up on the boat. I'm like, oh, okay, and it does that like multiple times. They'll just have this like breakaway and then do like a very beautiful like stunning shot and then just like kind of continue the story. And yeah, like it is it's tough because it's like it's really good. It is kind of sad at times, like just kind of like a little bleak or a little like melancholy feeling. So just be prepared if you're not someone that likes feeling sad from a movie. It can get like pretty impactful at times. And I think that's great. Like that's really what I want from the movie, but just be prepared that is what it is. But overall, really great. One of the best movies I've seen. Like definitely this year, and then it would have been last year if I'd seen it when it actually came out. But just a really good movie, and like I said, animated movies aren't usually something I'm like really gushing about, but this is one that like really did well. And then last movie I'll talk about for this episode. There's still movies I saw between now and then, but I don't want to do like a hour long, 2 hour long episode. But the next movie I saw was Captain America: Brave New World, and it was pretty rough. Like I said I won't be talking about spoilers, but honestly, I felt like the trailer spoiled basically the entire movie. That I guess spoiler alert, I'm gonna be talking about it. I feel like if you haven't seen it at this point, then it's not really worth going back to watch. But yeah, the whole movie, I felt like it sounded intriguing, and it seemed like it was gonna be more of like a interesting type of like I don't know if noir is exactly what it is, but it's more like a kind of like conspiracy like investigative movie based on the trailers. And it seemed like it had kind of like a bit of a different approach that felt a lot more grounded and less like superhero, like superpowers are what it's focused on. It just felt like a more um kind of like espionage or like intrigue movie. And I was like, oh, I feel like they're gonna take a bit of a shift in tone and like do something interesting with this. The trailers, they kind of just showed like everything that was notable about the movie, and then you watch the movie and it's like, oh, okay, it's I remember this from the trailer. Oh, there's that shot. Oh, it's over now. And so it just really felt disappointing. Like like I said, spoiler alert, but in the movie, Harrison Ford's character is like the Red Hulk, but they don't show that until like the very end of the movie. And so throughout the whole movie, he's like, they're like, something's going on. Someone like gave him this radiation. Why would they do that? What's their plan? And he's like getting angry. And it's like, wait, what's going on with him and stuff like that. And the whole time, it's like, yeah, he's gonna be the Red Hulk. Like I know what's happening, and they don't really like leave the audience in the dark of like who did this, how did this happen. They talk about like, yeah, the doctor from the like Incredible Hulk movie. I can't remember if it's the Edward Norton one that they just kind of like are like, hey, we're still continuing that, but it's the guy that used to be Abomination and now he's just like a human with like a big head. But it's like, oh, but he's super smart and he's like doing all these conspiracy things. It just kind of felt like you told us who it was, and then like we're watching stuff happen, but it's like I don't feel like there's any mystery. I feel like I already know everything that you're hinting at. And so the whole movie was just like it felt like we're going on a hike and it's like, well, I know all the spots that we're gonna stop at. And so it's like, okay, I guess I can't get off this ride until you say that we're done. And so throughout it, just like really underwhelming, not really interesting. Even the action scenes I wasn't really into. It just like I feel like the choreography was like decent, but when it's surrounded by everything else that's just kind of like mediocre, and it doesn't really stand out as like a good experience. And some of the action scenes I just kind of felt like it was confusing because the opening action scene, it's also in the trailer where Falcon he like flies down super fast and he lands on the ground and he goes, "Wait for it," and then like the sonic boom like knocks guys aside and stuff like that, and then they start fighting. But the thing is, he's doing like a under like a secret hidden like mission that he's like he doesn't want to be detected. But he opens the whole entrance with a sonic boom and then he's going around fighting guys that still don't know that anything's going on. It's like, did you not hear the sonic boom that happened at the same like like it's not even a neighborhood, it's like multiple buildings, but it's like a headquarters or whatever. But it just felt so weird. That's like, okay, there's the sonic boom and then he's like the leader of the whole group doesn't know that Falcon's there, and it's like it just felt weird that they made such a point to be like, oh, it's a sonic boom that's so loud and powerful it knocked people down, and then the rest of the action scene they're like, yeah, no one heard that, and it's like, okay, choose one or the other. And the other action scenes, like I said, the Red Hulk at the end, it was kind of like I already knew this was coming, so it wasn't like really surprising at all. There's also a scene where there's like someone finds out what is happening with the president and stuff like that. They call this guy and he's like, "Oh, I know the plot. I know like the whole conspiracy that's been going on. I need to make a call and let people know." And he hangs up and then he gets like taken down by the abomination guy, but they're at a training facility for like FBI agents, and they don't have any setup of like how the abomination guy got there, how he sneaked in. He just shows up, takes the guy out to prevent him from actually telling people what is going on, and then it cuts to a different scene. And that's it. So it's like, did he just show up and wait for him to get the call to take the guy out, and then he spent all this time to be there just to prevent that one thing? Like, why didn't he stop the guy that was making the call that actually discover the secret rather than stopping the person that gets the call about it? So it just felt weird, and there's a lot of scenes like that where it's just like I can follow along with what's happening, and I can kind of see like what they were going for, but it just doesn't feel like properly set up or executed. It just feels a bit messy and thrown together. And so I think that kind of summarizes Captain America: Brave New World. I was kind of hoping that would be better because it's Captain America, and I feel like the Captain America movies has been kind of like the consistently perform like better quality and more entertaining than other Marvel movies. And this one seemed like it was going to be a bit of a different direction and something a bit more unique. And it just kind of felt like very half-hearted, I think I would say. But that's going to sum up for now. That's the a few of the movies I've seen lately. And so hoping to continue doing this, summarize more of the movies I've seen. It's going to slow down a little bit once we get caught up to like current time, but looking forward to doing more episodes of Real Talk. I love movies. I really enjoy talking about them. If you have any opinions on the movies I talked about, whether you agree with me or disagree, feel free to sound off in the comments and let me know. I read every comment and I will likely respond if you have anything to really latch onto or to respond to. But either way, I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. This has been Real Talk, and I'll see you guys next time.